Today I want to share something deeply personal and reflective. I recently turned 27 and looking back, I've been carrying a lot of weight. The weight of regret and lessons. I try to live my life whereby if I make any mistake, I try to think of it as a lesson and not as a regret. I do have a few lessons that I would like to share with you. My first lesson is not breaking the chains of fear earlier. Throughout my life, I've been very good at going with the flow. I was considered a good student all throughout elementary school, high school, and up to college. I would do my homework on time. I didn't have any complaints from my friends or from my teachers. In elementary school, I remember staying up really late, working on all the assignments just to avoid getting smacked by teachers. I remember we had this English assignment in grade 6. We were supposed to find the right word to fill in the gap. For example, Jane is a very blank student. You had 5 options to select from, but you had to define all 5 words. Flipping the dictionary, finding the meaning, writing it down in your book, and then choosing one as the best answer or most suitable answer and explaining why that is your option. So yeah, on surface level, this seems like it's doable and easy, but if you had 20 questions like that, you would not be sleeping on that night. All you'll be doing is flipping through the encyclopedia and dictionary, trying to find the meanings of words, and you'll be on there for a long time. Forget about your sleep. And these words were not your easy to use day-to-day English. These were very complicated and advanced vocabulary that you would not hear in day-to-day speech. So you really would be spending a lot of time looking through the dictionary to find the meaning of this word before you could choose one answer. As if this was not time-consuming enough, we had 5 other subjects and 5 other assignments from different teachers, and all were due the next morning. We would get off school at 7 p.m. and we were supposed to be back by 7 in the morning. Even 7 was late. It was supposed to be at 6:30 in the morning. You're back to school, having slept and having done all your homework from 5 different subjects. I don't know what this was if it wasn't child labor. I remember dipping my legs into a container full of cold water just to stay awake throughout the night. And this cold water did not help me. I was just too tired to keep my eyes wide open. In elementary school, we seem to have been working harder than our parents, thanks to these teachers. It just feels like they would get off us doing so much homework, and whoever had the kids doing their homework was the most feared teacher, and they would feel like they were the ones who commanded respect. I remember for a whole year staying up almost every day doing my homework on time, only to give my friends the same homework to copy in the morning so that they could avoid being smacked. Looking back, maybe I should have said something because I missed on a ton of sleep, but I felt like it was my duty to help my friends not to get smacked. Yeah, I feel like it's not a bad thing all in all, but I could have at least asked someone to maybe split the homework with me so they could look up a portion and I would look up another portion so that we could have enough time and we could catch some sleep. But I could not rely on anybody else to do the homework. So I ended up just staying up all night, most of the nights, just looking through the dictionary and enjoying myself eventually and getting the homework done. I still look back and feel like I should have been a little bit more disagreeable and just not done my homework, at least a few times in a year. Yeah, the smacking was horrible, it was very painful, but I feel like if I were one of those kids who would just not do the homework and catch some sleep and be smacked tomorrow and move on, I would have developed different neurons and I would have been a different person altogether. Maybe I wouldn't have been so agreeable in my life. Sure enough, I spent my early 20s chasing success that wasn't truly mine. I went to college for a few years doing exactly what everybody told me to do. I never truly had a path that I looked forward to. So it almost feels like my younger days were just spent on doing homework, being the good kid, and doing exactly what I was supposed to do in life. And this is really not how life works. Looking back, I wish that I was not so fearful of my teachers and I was not so fearful of being smacked. Maybe I could have done a few things differently and I would have been a different person. When someone who was able to stand up for themselves, someone who had resilience, and in general, someone who had a backbone and really able to endure life's problems. If you are in your early 20s or teens, please try to avoid being so fearful of failure and try to get over the fear of being different, learning new things, making new friends. Number 2, action over accumulation. I spent a significant portion of my early 20s drowning myself in self-help books. I was accumulating knowledge every day and everywhere, not just in books but in videos, productivity apps, you name it. I feel like I had thought that by reading so many books, maybe one day through osmosis, I would be able to apply what I learned and just become a better person. But apparently things are not that simple. Reading is the fun part. Knowledge without action is like a ship that sets sail without a map. I had read numerous books about self-development, working out, you name it, but I wasn't doing any of these. It feels like I was getting a temporary high from just reading these books. It feels like reading these books did make me feel like I was doing something and I was trying to be better in my life. But I wasn't doing anything. I was just reading and accumulating knowledge. The turning point came when I got a call from the doctor who was there to inform me that I was not doing well physically. I was getting sick, tired all the time, couldn't climb a flight of stairs. I was unhappy, close to being depressed, and life just wasn't working out for me. But you know, the funny thing is that I never stopped reading these self-help books. I still got my drug. I got my high from reading these books and just feeling like I was doing something. I was living the same exact life as people who were not even reading these books or had no idea that these books existed. And I was definitely not happy because it felt like I was wasting my whole life. I decided to make a few changes after talking to the doctor. The first one was working out at least every day for 10 minutes. Number 2 was drinking water, and number 3 was avoiding sugar, especially when it comes to sugar in drinks like Coca-Cola or Starbucks or anything that's liquid and has sugar. And of course your regular candy. This came fairly easy to me because I was in a bad condition and I was in bad shape. If I hadn't changed a few things, I felt like I was not going to be going to a good spot in a few more months. So I did not really struggle so much when it came to changing my diet. I was being forced to avoid sugar at this point because on my own accord, I had not seen it as something that I was supposed to do, even though I had read it so many times in so many books that sugar was not really good for you unless it was coming in some natural sources or in moderation. Now, my goal is still to get to 150 minutes of aerobic activities in a week, which have been shown to prolong your life and improve the quality of health. I went from being essentially a walking encyclopedia of information to at least working out for a few minutes every day. And so far, I haven't seen any major changes, but I just feel so good inside that I committed to doing a few minutes of workouts almost every day. And I've only missed 2 workouts, not consecutively. This is something that was unheard of in my life before. I did not know myself to be able to be consistent with anything that I would ever think of doing. So me being able to do 10 minutes of workouts for at least 3 days in a row is something that is unheard of. I was simply lacking in discipline and commitment. 10 minutes is a start. I'm looking forward to doing more than 30-40 minutes, and I'm looking forward to being the strongest, best version of myself, at least in a few months or years to come. I'll be able to inform you of my progress through my upcoming videos. And being 27 now, I truly know that having knowledge is nothing. The richest place is the cemetery. People have a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills, a lot of goals that were never committed to and were never achieved. And I am no exception if I do not decide to change my ways. So how do I change my ways? By starting to take small steps. Small, deliberate actions are the ones that eventually lead to a successful, great life. I mostly appreciate the mental clarity that I get from committing to doing small activities and setting small goals and achieving those goals. This is what I mostly feel really good about. I feel like the more I keep doing what I set my mind to, the more I'm able to trust myself to do more things. So I'm winning confidence in myself every day by achieving what I said I would do, no matter how small it is. There is a quote that reads, "Small deeds done are better than great deeds planned." So if you're ever in a position of planning and continuously reading, getting ready, just start performing your goal now and do it in small chunks. You will get to where you want to get to in a few years, and you will be thankful to yourself that you began when you were not ready, because that is exactly the right time to start. Point number 3, not taking care of my environment, not being mindful of my surrounding or who I surround myself with. When I came to America, I was barely in my 20s and ready to conquer the whole world. Armed with information through books, I thought that life would be a breeze because I had prepared myself through reading these books. This was not what life had in store for me. I found it very hard to make friends or even simply to talk to people around me. 2 years went by very quickly and I had not made any acquaintances. It was during this time of my life when I really appreciated people who would just say hi and nothing else. I was going through some of the darkest times of my life. Everybody around me just seems very unreachable. Maybe because everybody was busy trying to fend for their families, having their own lives to take care of. It's crazy how you can be amongst so many people yet feel so lonely. And no matter how many times I explained to my friends that I was not able to make friends, they just didn't seem to understand how hard it was. So here I was by myself, just trying to assess what was going on in my life and trying to fix things up so I could at least be happy again. So when I started working, I took this chance to try to make friends. I was still experiencing similar problems of not having people who were introverted or people who were simply interested in reading a book and just staying home. Most people wanted to go out and have fun. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that it just wasn't something that I was trying to do at this point in my life. Since I did not want to put the effort in to find people who would be drawn to people like me, I just took what came along with life. And these were my coworkers then or anybody who came across who was willing to talk to me. So I found myself hanging out with people who I normally wouldn't hang out with. And I found myself going out more often than not. Yeah, I was happy within the few hours that I was out there. But when I got home, I just felt like I had not made the right choice. This is also because I had promised myself to spend most of my time trying to achieve what I had learned in the books. But instead, I spent this time hanging out with people, going out, and just doing things to fill the void of not being alone. I somehow forgot that time waits for no man, and your environment really shapes you. By the time I realized that I was wasting time, so much time had gone by. I had not achieved anything outside hanging out with my few friends, going out, even though I did not want to. So I was losing on both ends. I was losing that I wasn't enjoying myself, and I was losing that I wasn't losing that time to achieve my goals. I've learned to be in an environment that encourages growth. And people who encourage you to try pursuing your goals, people who are like-minded, and people who will not judge you for having ambitious goals or for wanting to stay home. So if you are younger, I would recommend that you really watch out who you hang out with, because eventually you get to become an average of the people that you hang out with. Point number 4, embracing failure. All throughout my life, I have feared failure like an enemy. While in real life, failure is a friend in disguise. Failure is like the universe redirecting you. I wish I gave myself a chance to fail when I was younger. I had dreams and goals. For example, I had a goal to become a model at some point. I had a goal to make these YouTube videos. I had goals to achieve so many things, but I was very scared of being rejected. And this huge fear of failure led me to not even push harder than I should have. Yeah, I took a few steps towards my goals. For example, I got a few gigs here and there for modeling, but nothing really ever took off. And in my mind, I tried to think, oh, I give it a shot. Deep inside my mind, I know that I never give anything really a complete shot, because you know when you're doing your best. You know when you have your foot forward and you're giving your best shot at everything that comes across you in life. And you know when you're bullshitting too. Your brain knows, your heart knows. And I truly feel like I have never given anything a thought and pushed as hard as possible to achieve it. This whole point seems to be a constant when it comes to successful people, because they really persevere and endure until a breakthrough comes. They seem to endure until they see the light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how many years it takes, they keep doing the same thing and they keep hitting the same spot and nailing it until everything opens up. This is a skill that I feel like I never cultivated. And I feel like with every failure, you become a different person. You gain more skills. With trying out new things and failing, your brain gets rewired differently. You gain a few neurons, different neurons fire differently, and you become a whole being by trying out new things. It's always very hard to try new things or to push against failure But once you do, you're almost always happy that you did. I would recommend everybody watching this video to give failure a chance and to let failure redirect you. One closed door is not a forever thing. If someone tells you no, they're not telling you no. They're telling you wait, or they're telling you not now. So give things a shot, and when you fail, learn that it is a redirection to what you need to do next. Don't take it too personal. Point number 5, spending time with family. When you are growing up in your household, you take for granted that you're gonna grow up and one day leave the nest. And I did too when I was growing up. I did not think that one day I would just not be around my family. I would not have my grandparents around. And it's a shame because when I had the chance, I never really spent enough time with my grandparents. When you are young, you don't think of a lot of things. Your grandparents are not gonna be there until you grow up. I lost my grandma in 2010, and that was the only grandparent that I had. Funny enough, I don't know if they ever knew anything about me except for my name or where I lived. I just simply wasn't spending enough time with them. I had the chance to ask my parents to support me in knowing my grandparent more, but I was more comfortable spending time alone, reading my books, and just immersing myself in other worlds that were not my reality. And if I could go back, I would probably not be so engrossed in the books and just stop reading, take a moment to realize that the life that I'm living is now, and it's not in the books, it's outside the books, and it's with me spending time with people around me. This is the life that I'm living right now. I would tell my younger self to really appreciate my grandparents, my parents, and everybody around me, including friends. This is because as you grow older, you tend to spend less and less time with people who you really love. Eventually, you end up spending a lot of time with your spouse until you die. So, if you get a chance to spend time with your family, please do maximize that opportunity. You never know when is the next time that you will be able to have everybody together, or just you and your grandparents enjoying life. If you stayed throughout the video, thank you so much for watching. If you're still alive and have a lot more regrets than I do, please remember that nothing will ever change until you change, and nothing will move until you move. So take the chance to appreciate your life and know that as long as you're alive, you're able to change something. And if you cannot change it, have the grace to accept it and move on and take it as a lesson. Also promise yourself that as long as you're alive, you'll keep making improvement and grow. Nothing's ever fully over until everything's over. So as long as you're alive, you have the power. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.